Welcome back to the Hats That I Wear Training Center. Today we are going to step back before we step forward into our hot tips for social media marketing training. So when you are doing goal setting, it is important to take a large goal and break it down into smaller goals and then to smaller actions. And that's the steps to success system that I am going to briefly go over and teach you some key points today. And that will help prepare you so that as we start to apply all the learning techniques for the different technology that you're going to be learning, you'll have a better understanding of how to make sure that as you go into learning something new, learning new technology, there's no reason to become overwhelmed or, frustrated, because we are only focusing on one step at a time. So it's all about achieving success. So what I have here is I have published as part of the Ember Within. This is the Step to Success workbook. This workbook goes in a lot of detail as to what occurs in the Step to Success program. And so this is something that I have used in my own life. And what I have done here is I go through and I start going in pretty detail about how to balance your life through your goals, how to break down complex strategies into phases so that you can create actions, how to understand research. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then I go and I apply it, and I share you how I applied it in some goals that I set for me as an author. And then at the very back, I give you a preview of the 30-day journals. So there are two 30-day journals. One is called the Step to Success Toolbox. The Steps to Success Toolbox has just a very brief introduction on the key points of the Step to Success program. And then we head right into a 30-day journal of setting a 30-day, your monthly goal. And then we go into setting weekly goals. And then we have actions to take every single day. And this has quotes about success. So it's kind of a contemporary design, and it's something that, this book will take you for a 30-day goal, step by step. Then we have the Steps to Success journal, which has the exact same thing as what's in the Step to Success toolbox, except that it is formatted a little bit differently. So you will see that, once again, I go and give you key points of the Step to Success program so that you can remember it and you can refer back to it. And then we head right into setting a monthly goal, setting weekly goals, and then having daily action to complete those goals. The quotes on these are more artistic and motivational. So these are three books. If you want to know really the depth of the program, it would be the workbook. But then these two here are actual journals that you can apply and fill out. They are available for free in Kindle Unlimited. So if you want to just review the information and then write it in your own journal, that's an economical way of doing that as well. But they are also available for print. So what we're going to talk about today are things that I share in these books. And this will help you understand how to take large goals and break them down into phases and break them down more than into actions. And that is going to be what we're going to delve in. So let's head over to Understanding the Step to Success program. Welcome to a brief overview of the Steps to Success program. What I'm going to talk to you about is how to break down complex or larger goals into smaller actions and smaller phases so that you have better success in completing your goals. Success is a choice. When we focus on the outcome of success rather than the fear of failure, we choose to succeed through our actions. As we head into the hot tips for social media marketing, there are going to be some new technology that you're going to be learning. And it is very natural to have a little bit of apprehension or some nervousness whenever we're learning a new skill or new technology. And that's okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to take a larger goal, break it down so that then we can just focus on the current action to make sure that we learn that action, we feel confident in that action so that we can take the next step forward. So one of the first steps that you're going to do is to create what's called a project charter. And what that is a large overview of the goal that you are wanting to accomplish. And this document is the roadmap which provides directions to all the participants on the project. And a project charter can also be helpful if you are needing to obtain funding. For a business, you may need to be going to do funding for a bank or for investors. And so a project charter will help break things down so that you are able to sell why it is a good investment to help you accomplish what you're trying to do. For just a typical goal, every goal usually has some type of expense that is going to be associated with. So you may need to have help in convincing family, friends, a significant other or spouse as to why there needs to have free up some budget in order for you to be able to accomplish your goal. So there are 3 primary things that need to be included in a project charter. You're going to be establishing your preliminary goals of the project. You'll establish the preliminary deliverables for a project and establish the preliminary timeline for the project. So you're going to have your overall goal, which is going to be, I am choosing this goal and I'm accomplishing this goal so that I can be able to have X. This is the results that I want when I complete the goal. Here's the purpose, here's my intent, and here's the results that I am looking for. Then you're going to have the deliverables. So when I am working on my goal, when I am completed with my goal, I will be able to show this and this and this, whatever those things are, to show that I have been successful in completing the goal. For the hot tips for social media marketing, those deliverables are going to be a website, social media platforms, and the services that help connect those platforms so that you can automate your social media marketing. And it is also going to be 30 days of social media marketing designs and writing for you to be able to implement. And then a timeline. The timeline would be when you want to start it and when you want to finish your goal, but also what it is you want to accomplish with each one of those, week 1, I want to have this done. Week 2, I want to have this done. Week 3, I want to have this done. Week 4, I want to have this done. By having all of this in your project charter, then when you go and you present that, they can see that it is very well thought out. You've done your research and you are a good investment. In your project or your goal, you're going to divide this up into 4 phases. Each one of these phases has specific actions that need to occur inside that phase. Think of this like a relay race. There are 4 runners on each relay race, on each section of the race. And each runner has a specific task that needs to happen within their period of the race. But the race is won or lost by how successful and how smoothly they pass that baton. That is the same way I want you to think about when it comes to project phases. So the very first phase in the project is the discovery phase. In the discovery phase, this is when you're going to do your research. This is when you're going to research what technology you're going to want to use. You're going to be researching your competition. You're going to be researching what options you're going to need, cost of what it's going to entail. All of the details of your project is going to go in the discovery phase, where you're doing the research to find all the information you're going to need and all the pieces of the puzzle to put it together so that when you're finished, you're complete with your goal. Then the second phase is the strategy phase. So in the strategy phase is where you take everything you've learned in the discovery phase, all that research, and you begin to start plugging it in. This is the big goal, so this is everything that it needs to accomplish. You may have a list of 10 things or 20 things. You're going to have a list of every single thing that needs to be accomplished in order for you to be successful in your goal. This comes from having a smooth pass off from the discovery phase to the strategy phase. In the strategy phase, you are also going to look at cost. How much this is going to be the software you need. This is going to need to be the subscription services that you're going to need. Everything that is going to be, hands-on, what you have to, actually have in place in order to be able to go and complete your project. That's where you go and you start applying that in your strategy. So the strategy is about, all the steps and actions that need to be taken. It is also all the deliverables that you're going to need to have access to, software or hardware, that you're going to be able to complete your goal. Then you're going to pass that information off to the next phase of your project, which is the design phase. You now have the strategy. You know exactly what needs to occur on week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And you've broken that down even further so that on week 1, day 1, this is what needs to occur. Week 1, day 2. This one is what needs to occur. So this allows you, when you get into the design phase, you don't have to constantly be thinking about what is it that I need to do in order to accomplish my goal. Because sometimes we end up spending more time thinking about it, instead of jumping right in with our hands and getting it accomplished. So the design phase is hands-on. Hands-on, creating the designs which are going to be needed in order to be able to go to the execution phase and plugging everything in. It goes back to that smooth transition. So the final phase of the of the project is the execution phase. This is where you take everything you have learned in the discovery, the strategy, and the design phases, and you plug it in and you start hooking everything up to make it happen, and you make your goal being success. So in the hot tips for social media marketing, this is when you're starting to put everything onto your website, you're hooking up your RSS feeds, you are starting to schedule things, and the execution phase goes so smoothly because you have everything right there at your fingertips to plug it into the right spots that you're wanting to plug it into. Now, the biggest challenge in a project is everybody wants to just jump right into the execution phase, because that's where you start seeing the results. It's like, oh, my website's up, and oh, I've got this up, and I've got all this done. But the problem is if you start there, all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh, I can't go any further because you know what? Oh, I need to figure out in the strategy phase, I need to figure out how I'm going to pay for the website. I need to figure out in the discovery stage what website I'm going to use. There's so many out there. And so you start to jump into execution phase, and then because the other phases weren't done, that's when you start feeling frustration. That's when you start feeling overwhelmed, and anxiety starts to happen, and you wonder, oh my gosh, this is too much for me. No, the problem isn't ever that it's too much. The problem is that, you tried to go ahead without the information that you needed. And so that is how we're going to be breaking down the hot tips for social media marketing. And then being able to teach you this, you'll be able to apply it in every other aspect of your life. So I'm going to apply this in an easy scenario for you to remember. We're going to use the scenario of going out and purchasing a vehicle. So one of the first things you're going to do when you decide you need to purchase a vehicle is you need to decide what its usage is going to be for. Is it going to be for commuting? Is it going to be for recreational? Do you need a small economical commuter car, or can you have something that you can use for recreation and is also efficient for community? Can you have dual purposes? So this is everything you naturally do, and that is the discovery phase. So let's take the example of you've decided to research SUVs. And so you're looking at SUVs, you're looking at your competition. Competition is just other people who have SUVs. What are they driving? What's on the road? What seems to be popular? What colors are people driving? You're going to talk to family and friends, associates, colleagues, just talk to them about what they're driving and their experience. You're going to make sure you do your research. You're going to do your research on how much it's going to cost for insurance. You're going to do your maintenance research. How expensive are these things going to be to fix? How are you going to purchase this? All of this is in the discovery phase. Then you're going to head off into the strategy phase. So now you've decided, I'm going to get this SUV, and I know that I'm going to have to get a loan for it. So I've decided in the discovery phase to use this credit union or bank, or I'm going to pull money out of my savings. And so you start to then begin to strategize how you're going to financially purchase for this. You're going to strategize as to when you're going to make the purchase and how you're going to piece everything together with going to the bank, getting the money, getting the vehicle, getting insurance on it, and planning planning your next trip and where you can actually enjoy it. That is in the strategy phase. This is something that we normally do. We don't even think about it. We just head into it. Then what happens is then you go into the design phase and you start thinking, oh, wow, well, now that I'm going to be having an SUV, what are some things that, I want to maybe include in this loan? What are some things that I may want to end up including? And am I going to want to have running boards? Am I going to need to have am I going to need to have a luggage rack or a bike rack on the back? If I'm looking at, I've been looking at different options. I've kind of got my eye on, one or two different ones right here, but I'm not really liking the wheels on it. So am I going to need to change the wheels or the tires? This is everything that you do in the design phase. What floorboards are you going to have? What rug mats are we going to have? Are you going to have, do you take a pet with you? Are you going to need to have something in the back for your pet to be in? This is everything that you do in the design phase. And if you've done things well in the strategy phase, then you know that not only did you budget for the actual cost of the vehicle, but you also have gone and you have gone and made some leeway for the budget so that you can add things. If you've done things well in the discovery phase, you've done some preliminary work as to some of the features that you may want. So the design phase is just really fine-tuning those features. Then you go into the execution phase, and that's where you go get the money, you go purchase the vehicle, and you drive it off, and you go on your first outing that you have planned and paid for. This is the natural way we do goals and we do projects in life. It doesn't matter whether you are planning a vacation, whether you are purchasing a vehicle, whatever purchase you are making, as it can be down to purchasing a new outfit for an upcoming special event. We go through these 4 phases, and we naturally do them without even thinking about it. Well, now we're just applying that into how we work with our goals and being a little bit more strategic. So the discovery phase. What's going to happen in the discovery phase? We're going to research our competition. And our competition is direct, indirect, complementary, and innovative. We're going to research our target audience. We're going to research our available technology options. I have done most of this research in the hot tips for social media marketing, but I highly recommend that you go through and you do your own research, because what I chose and what I'm going to teach, because that's what I use for me, may not be the right choice that you want to use. You're going to research your marketing options. What options do you have to market what you're going to be putting on social media? And you're going to research your social media platforms. All right, so then breaking this down, let's talk about what is direct, indirect, complementary, and innovative. These can apply not only to your competition, it can apply to your action steps. So we're going to apply it, I'm going to explain it to you with both. We're going to first talk about your direct with your competition. So direct competition is when somebody else's actions will directly affect the outcome of your goal. That would be a direct competition. An indirect competition would be if someone's actions affects their goal, but could possibly then also affect your goal. So I'm going to apply these first two to authors. So your direct competition would be an author who also is writing in your exact same genre. You are competing against the same target audience. You're competing in getting that reader's attention to determine whether they're going to go and purchase, someone else's book or whether they're going to purchase your book. So that would be a direct competition. The indirect competition would be authors who write in another genre. So their action is to get readers to purchase their books. Now, those readers may enjoy several different genres. They may enjoy poetry as well as sci-fi. So they're going, maybe the competition, indirect competition would be poetry. So they're working on being able to get readers to purchase their poetry book. Well, everybody has a budget. So by them being able to, by them getting readers to purchase, poetry book, that may affect a reader who would be interested in your book from purchasing yours until a later date. And so that would be an indirect competition. These are all ways that you're going to want to research. Then complementary. So a complementary is when another your competitor has an action that has multiple ways that can be taken, which could possibly affect your goal. So case in point, and usually these are budget driven. So case in point, so you've got another author who has multiple series, who has books that is in a definite series. So they are trying to convince readers that not only do they want to buy this one book, but you know what? When they're done, they have several of their books lined up for them to read. So the reader then has multiple options of being able to continue on reading that series, which then does affect your goal because it's going to take them longer for them to get through the series, for them to get back to purchasing one of your books. And at that point, are they going to remember that they were interested in your book? So that would be a complementary competition. Now, an innovative competition is where the competitor has multiple different ways that they have options for your target audience to capture their attention, which then could affect your ability to reach your goal. So in the case of an author, so let's say an author goes and they have book series. So that's one direction they could go. But guess what? They also not only have that, but they also have on there, they have products that are attached to their series. So maybe they sell coffee cups, maybe they sell t-shirts, maybe they sell just different products that is exciting. If it's a children's, let's say for instance it's a children's book. So not only do they have multiple books within the children's series, but they're also getting these readers to spend their money on being able to, purchase toys or, clothing or hair apparel or just, coloring books. All of these are innovative approaches that your competitor is taking. But these innovative approaches are wonderful, but they also are affecting the budget of your readers that could be interested in your books as well. So how are you able to compete with them so that you can also maintain the interest of the readers, so that they're spending their purchasing power on your product as well? So that explains direct, indirect, complementary, and innovative when it comes to your competition. Now, when it comes to your actual actions, we're going to apply this with the steps that you take. So, for instance, a direct action that if I do this, I can cross off one of those steps in my goals towards my goal. That would be a direct actions. Those are always the very best, because you do this and it accomplishes this, you're cross that off and you're on to the next step. An indirect action would be, in order for me to accomplish this goal, this step right here, I first have to take this action. When this action is complete, then I can go and I complete this next action, which then goes and it completes that step. So this would be a multi-step process that you take in order to reach your goal. I'm going to explain those two. So for instance, a direct goal when it comes to writing, a direct goal is, when I go and I write 300 words today, or 2,500 words today, I am taking direct action towards meeting my goal of finishing my book. An indirect action is when I go and I have created, I've done the 2,500 pages on here, I also need to go back and I'm going to need to do editing on those and do some editing prep in order to be able to meet my goal of being able to publish my book. So that would be an indirect action. So it's still, you've got the main action is writing, but indirect actions are, editor prep, working on book covers, writing your blog. All of those are indirect actions that have to take place in order to reach your goal. Complementary actions. Complementary actions are all the small little steps, little goals that you need to take that make it so that you will be successful in your goal. So complementary actions, of course, now are marketing. So you need to be able to have marketing pieces so that you are able to market and let people know about the book you're doing. You're going to need to be engaging with people on social media. So your actions isn't writing for your book. Your actions may be writing social media pieces, designing social media pieces that are complementary and showcasing your book, that will make it so that when you have your book finished, that it is going to be successful and you'll be able to get sales. That would be complementary actions. And then the last is innovative actions. Innovative actions take actions that take a new approach. So a lot of this would be in how are you going to market your pieces differently than what everybody else is doing out there in order for you to make interest? How are you going to be able to switch things up? Are you going to go to new platforms, social media platforms that you haven't been on before? Are you going to go and go directly to a library and sign up for a book reading? What innovative actions can you come up with that isn't the status quo of what everybody else is doing, that you can use to market your book in order for you to reach your goal of being successful and not only finishing your goal, but also being able to get book sales. So that's how these four elements of research is going to be taken, and how to use it not only with your competition, but when you think about how to implement it when you're taking action. All right, so now the strategy phase. The strategy phase is when we're going to determine our brand theme. In social media marketing, you need to have a brand. Your page needs to clearly represent what you are all about. You usually have a 3-second rule. And within 3 seconds, people are going to have a general idea of what you're about and whether that message resonates with them in order for them to continue to engage with you on social media. Then you're also going to determine your social media content. There are multiple ways to be able to run social media, and different platforms specialize in different ways. For instance, Instagram. You cannot post on Instagram unless you have visuals, whether that be photography or video. Twitter, you have the option of doing both. Now, there are some accounts that do extremely well, and all it is that they do is they post they just writing. There's no visuals, there's no videos, it is just writing. And so, and they do very, very well. And that may be something that you want to research, and that you've researched and you determine this is the direction that I want to go. There are other accounts who all they post is photography, and they do very well on there. There's some accounts that are primarily there to engage with others. So you're going to see a lot of communications going back and forth. You're going to see a lot of lists of names being shared, and you'll have a lot of engagement that way. And there are some social medias that kind of do a combination of both. So in the strategy phase, you're going to determine what is right for you, because every page is different. You're going to set up a project budget. So in this, once again, there are in the hot tips for social media marketing, there are some service fees that if you want to use some software, you're going to have, there is fees associated with it. So you're going to set up a project budget. You will have researched all that in the discovery phase, and then you're going to set up a project budget and figure out how you're going to be able to afford it, and if you need to go and get financial assistance. And then you're going to set up your project timeline. So what is it that you're going to hope to be able to have everything set up in the hot tips for social media marketing? Are you going to try and do it in 30 days? 3 months, 6 months, 1 year? And when you start thinking about a project timeline, you have to not only consider the end date, but you have to also understand that sometimes you may want to push the end date out a little bit to give you some flexibility with your time if you're working a full-time job, or you've got family, you're very active in your life. So you have to take those things in consideration when you're setting up your project timeline. I did all of this when I set mine up. I did it, what I'm teaching you, I did it in 30 days. But I say that because I already had 3 years worth of marketing material already set up. I already had my website set up. So I just had to do some tweaks and adjust my website. So I'd say a good estimate would be 3 months. You can, of course, do it sooner than that, but that would be, I would have to say, probably 3 months would be. And before you go, 3 months is too long. Well, if you don't start, 3 months is going to go by, whether you start or whether you give up right at the beginning because it's too long. Then 3 months down the road, you go, man, I wish I would have started because all of this would have been in place. So we can keep kicking it down the road, or we can just jump in and start it. Let's talk about the design phase. In the Hot Tips for Social Media Marketing, this is where we're going to create our branding standards. You're going to create a color palette. You're going to draft 30-day tweets or posts. You're going to set up your pro writing aid, Canva, your design visuals. You're going to create videos if you're going to use them. You're going to review your content created, and you're going to edit your content that you've created. So why is it important to have branding standards? You are a business. And it is important that wherever you go, that you are easily recognized. So you may want to look into creating a logo for yourself. You want to be able to, associate these specific colors that that are always, when they see that, they are representing that with you, and it matches your brand and your theme. And then we're going to want to be able to create 30 days worth of tweets or posts. By having that designed and right there in our arsenal, then when you go in and you start to plug it into the execution phase, you can just, whip things out, and you can create a 30-day plan, which then goes into effect, allowing you to step back and then start working on the next 30 days so that you're always 30 days in advance. So you'll set up your pro writing aid. This is so that you can, whatever you are presenting, you can throw it in there, make sure that, there's no typos, there's no grammar information. You're going to set up Canva. So Canva is what you're going to use, what I recommend using for you to create designs. It's a drag and drop. Then you're going to go in and you're going to create visuals, and I'm going to talk to you and show you how to do bulk visuals so that, you think 30 days. Okay, so 30 days, just to help break this down, 30 days of marketing material, if you're only publishing it 3 times a day, that is 90 days. That's 90 designs. Not 90 days. That's 90 designs that you need to create. That is a lot, but there are tricks and tips that I'm going to teach you in order to be able to do that and make 90 days or 90 designs so that you'll have it for 30 days. And then, like I said, you're going to plug that into the execution phase, and then you can always continue to add. You'll create any videos that you'll use. Of course, you're going to need to review your content and make sure it is ready for execution phase to drop it in. And then you'll go back and you'll edit any content if you find that it needs to have some edits done. And I will tell you right now, edits are never finished. If you're talking about, that's the beauty of social media, is you are always in testing. You are always determining what worked here, what didn't work here, and you're constantly going back and tweaking and editing. And the beauty of the systems that I am going to be sharing with how to utilize is that it helps you. It's easy to be able to go in and update. So now we're going to get into the fun stage. Remember, this is the stage where everybody wants to jump into it, and I'm telling you not to. I'm telling you to make sure you do the design, the strategy, and the discovery phases. So starting with discovery, going on to strategy, the next into design. Why is that? Mainly, it's to save you money. A lot of the complementary services will offer a free, 30-day or 15-day trial period. So if you jumped right at the beginning and you started sign up for all of these, and then it took you 25 days to get all the other work. Now you only have 5 days to be able to test this out. That's going to give you a little bit of frustration. So that is why I'm saying do not jump into the execution phase. Make sure that you have everything ready. You've got it all sitting right there in your arsenal, ready to just plug it in. So what are we going to do on the execution phase? We're going to set up the website. We're going to set up our social media sites. We're going to sign up for the complementary services such as IFTTT, Linktree, Genius Link, SmarterQ or Hootsuite, and your social media sites. Now, SmarterQ, if you use the link that I am providing on here, you will have 30-day trial period rather than the normal 15-day trial period. So that is something that I would recommend. We're also in the execution phase. We're going to be putting up content onto the website, scheduling the release. You're going to set up your IFTTT, and hook up your RSS feeds. You're going to set up Linktree with all your social media, set up your SmarterQ and Hootsuite, and begin scheduling posts. That is what is going to occur in the execution phase of the hot tips for social media marketing. So the conclusion, once again, the hardest part of beginning a project is to develop the discipline to not jump ahead into the future phases. So once again, execution phase is where the action takes place, and it is so tempting to jump in at that point and then start working backwards. But doing that will result in a lengthier completion date, and you will probably miss your project goal deadlines. And this is the reason being is because if you jump right into execution phase, you're going to realize you don't have the information from the previous phases, and then you have to change things up, and then you're getting frustrated because it's like you feel like you're spinning your wheels. Well, you are, because all of a sudden you're like, oh shoot, I need to have this service. Well, now I need to go and I need to do the research to determine what service that I need in order to be able to hook up, what I'm wanting to do in the execution phase. Oh, and then I found out it's going to cost X amount of dollars. Oh, I wasn't planning on doing that. Now I need to figure out how I'm going to go and pay for that. And if you're in execution phase, you're like, okay, great, I've signed up for this. I'm ready to start going and putting, scheduling things. Oh, what am I going to schedule? I don't have anything ready for that. And like I said in the previous slide, if you're on a trial period, that clock is ticking. So don't start on the trial periods until you're in execution phase. All the discovery, the strategy, and design phases have been complete. So then you are utilizing that free time that you have. And that is the Step to Success program, broken down really briefly and just a small portion of it, and how we are going to apply it in the hot tips for social media marketing. I hope you enjoyed what I shared in the Steps to Success program. This is just a very small portion of the program, but I hope you found it beneficial. If you felt there was value there, the best way that you can do to support me is to share what you have learned here. Copy the link, share it on your social media, talk about what you learned, share your excitement about this hot tips for social media marketing and what you're going to be learning, and encourage others to join in. Having a group of individuals all working on the same goal can be very helpful and beneficial. All right, we'll see you again in the Hats That I Wear Training Center.